Dear listeners, the following episode discusses sensitive and potentially triggering topics including substance abuse, sexual abuse, and suicidal ideation. Audience discretion is advised.
Hey murderers, to start this episode off, I thought it might be a good idea to read an actual request for help. Jesse D. 0203 says, I need the help of a shaman, but I do not have any money to pay for one. I've had a negative entity sexually assault me, and worse, for years now. I have a substance abuse problem, so I don't know if it's that or what. Spirit will not help me. I think that my power animal is gone, either taken or left me because I have so much misfortune and cannot get past the addiction. And I always could in the past. I don't know why I can't now. Someone please help. My life is so hard. I wish I could just die, and I've failed at suicide attempts because of the rape and abuse. It will keep me from sleeping and everything. It won't let me cleanse, hold sacred space, protect myself, or anything I need to do spiritual hygiene related. And that's pretty common. That's a pretty typical request for assistance against a negative entity or attachment. There are these people who are in chaos. They're really stuck in a really bad situation on every aspect that you could think. And these are all from the shamanism subreddit. I also just today was looking, and there were like 4 or 5 different similar ones in the True Christian subreddit. People from all over the place have this issue. How do I deal with a negative energy? How do I protect myself? And I hope that in this episode we can talk a bit about that and the different ways of protection. Stay tuned after the music.
There is a medicine story that tells of Crow's fascination with her own shadow. She kept looking at it, pecking at it until her shadow woke up and became alive. Then Crow's shadow ate her. Crow is dead Crow now. Join us as we attempt to look through the wandering crow's eye to find the gateway to the supernatural, to seek to know the unknowable mysteries of creation. Welcome to the Wandering Crow Podcast.
Hey everybody, it's Mandy.
It's JT.
Cameron.
And Abbey.
So this is an interesting episode. Abbey asked the question, how do you protect yourself from negative things out there in the world? Like, what does that even mean? How do you, right? Was that the question, Abbey?
Yeah. In previous episodes, you've talked about how some people are more prone or can be susceptible to getting latched onto. You've talked about portals and how sometimes people can accidentally open one, i.e. like a Ouija board or something similar. And then you've talked about how to counteract that by properly protecting yourself. And I'm very curious to know, how do you do that? What does that mean? And I'm sure our listeners have probably wondered the same.
Okay.
If you're not already in the know, which I'm not really. My girls thought they heard a ghost in their room last weekend. All it said was, when they were playing. And they're like, and it was not Siri. We know what our Siri sounds like. It wasn't her.
Was it Alexa?
Well, we don't have an Alexa, but they have tablets. And so they have Siri, but they were recently just playing with all their Siri settings. So I believe them when they're like, yeah, we know. And it wasn't her, but it was definitely a voice in our room. And it said, We were like, okay, great. We need an eraser. Go back to your room and get us an eraser. And then she was like too scared to go back. So I walked into the room and I just screamed like, all right, whatever you are, shoo, like get out of here. You're not welcome. And then they were both like, okay. They were able to like move about their day.
What you did was 100% correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, depending on the tradition. There are, I don't even know how many religions and spiritual practices and different things out there. And every single one has sort of a different take on how you protect yourself, and yet they are all real similar. What you did was you went in there in your own power and with your own sense of like, this is my home, and you weren't antagonistic. It sounds like you weren't like, screw you, you're not stronger than me, whatever. You basically said, you're not welcome here, you need to leave, is what it sounds like. You didn't try to antagonize anything. You weren't being mean or an asshole, just really strong boundary. And that's very important. I think that's the number one most important thing that a person can do as preemptive protection, or even when you're in a situation where you think that maybe it's already too late and you're already exposed to things, is strong boundaries. Like, no, this is not acceptable. This is not okay in my life. And I'm going to close whatever boundaries are open that's kind of allowing this to manifest. And you did that for the kids because they were already in a place where they were ungrounded from it and they were having a lot of fear. And it wasn't going to be helpful to try to tell them nothing can get you. There's nothing there. You were already past the point where it was going to be helpful to say that's not real. You needed to demonstrate to them clear, strong boundaries and mom's got this. I've got you. You're protected. And that will help bring them into a better grounded place where they're not going to feel so much fear anymore. To me, the most profound and protective things that a person can do are actually preemptive. Let's look at one of our Redditors where she feels like this negative energy is assaulting her, and she also has a substance abuse problem. She can't get past the addiction, and she feels obviously very depressed. This is a person who's expressed some suicidal ideation, some failed suicide attempts. This is a person who has a lot of chaos happening in their life. And there's a lot to unpack there. This is beyond a negative entity. This is far beyond that. This is a person who needs community, who needs a long-term regimen of assistance and support to get them through the worst part of this. A really potential, like very powerful shaman, in my opinion, could help this person get rid of the negative entity. And that would be fine. But that is actually only a symptom of the larger problem. This person has a substance abuse problem. And why do they have a substance abuse problem? Either because of the depression, or maybe the depression is related to the substance abuse problem, but something has happened. There's some other trauma there, and this person needs assistance with that. Until this poor person, this poor, sad person who my heart goes out to them, can get to the root of their problems and really do deeper healing work, they are constantly going to be in a position where they're at risk. This is a person who is at high risk for continually having attachments and being spiritually attacked. This is a person who doesn't have boundaries. This is a person who's constantly ungrounded, who doesn't probably feel faith in a lot of things and feels alone and isolated and doesn't want to be here right now. In my opinion, there is no amount of magic that's going to get this job done in one day. This is going to take months and maybe years of effort and concentrated work and good support. This poor person, I really, truly hope that they find the help that they need, because I do really feel for them. But there is a larger problem here than just one simple entity problem here. And so how do you protect yourself from entities? Well, I guess to answer that, how do you become a person who's higher risk? Well, previous traumas can make you open, can make you have poor boundaries, like energetic boundaries. If you don't really understand, if you're a person who's easily gaslit, if you're a person who's easily manipulated, and other people can make you doubt yourself and doubt your reality because of your traumas and whatever, that is a person who is probably going to be at higher risk. That is a person who isn't able to stand in their own power and say, this is me and I know what's real for me and I'm going to stand in what's real. I know what's real and I'm going to hold a boundary against all of this stuff. Because where do we even start with this? So each of us is born, we can have our own little shield, and the less grounded you are and the more internal chatter and trauma and chaos floats through you and around you, the weaker those shields are and the easier it is for things to attach. And you've probably got just energy all willy-nilly wandering around let loose into the world from either your actions or your thoughts or the things that you say and feel, and entities are attracted to that. It's like a beacon in the dark. My personal opinion is that the relationship between people and most entities can be parasitic. They need food, and humans happen to be a really good source of their food, which is energy, and spirits will get it from wherever they can. There are certain people who just let it out, and it's just like a free buffet. And when you have something like that, things are going to come and snack.
This is also why if I ever want to see something, I bring somebody new with me.
Yeah.
That's not used to the experience.
Is it heighten it for you? So because they're so scared?
No, it's because they are a good food source, and
Yeah,
I'll
I was gonna
probably
say
see
they're your little
something.
sacrifice.
Jesus, Cameron. What a good friend you are.
They wanted to see something.
Yeah.
I'm letting them see something.
So,
And I think it can be both negative and positive energy that they feed on.
yes. And it can be symbiotic as well. So, like a person who is in a better grounded state can set up really good, strong boundaries and can cultivate relationships with certain spirits, and they can have a really nice give and take. The spirit is getting something from them, and they are getting something from the spirit, and there is a really good relationship there. The difference between like a parasitic entity, a negative entity, is that they're feeding on your chaos, perpetuating the chaos. They can help manipulate the situation to create more chaos. In a classic haunting, I guess, that you would see on TV or movies, it starts out with something where it's not normally supposed to be. And that you think, that's weird. And like little things continue to happen. Maybe it's something that can move stuff around, and until suddenly in front of you one day you see a cup move. And that freaks you out a little bit, and that causes you to feel fear. And that's slowly but surely ungrounding you and creating greater fear, and you're letting little bits of fear out into the world. The entity is feeding on that, and as it feeds on that, it can get stronger and it can do more things. And then suddenly there's this escalation of the haunting, and things get crazy, and then people are getting scratched, and the fear is building, it's ever building, and likewise the entity is doing more and more bigger things that are scarier. And how do you end all that? Well, if you're Christian, go to your community, go to church, say your prayers, find yourself grounded again, where you can be in a place where you can relinquish your fear, where you can have faith in your higher power, have faith in your protecting spirits and the angels, and help bring you back into that place where you're not afraid anymore. That's like the number one thing, is control your fear. So like in shamanic circles and shamanic worldview, you need to be doing daily work, meditating. That's how you find that. And that's why shamans do that specifically, so that they're never in a place where in this really ungrounded live wire of fear. That's a very dangerous situation to be in. In the traditional lineages, daily, multiple times a day, meditation is part of the very beginning trainings. Whether they're doing spirit work or not, they have to be mastering meditation and getting themselves really strongly grounded, both because it makes it easier for them to communicate and have actual conversations and express themselves and also hear what spirit is saying, but also because it keeps them safer and they are not as much in danger. And it's really important for them to stay grounded when they're doing certain ceremonies. So then the other thing would be symbols.
Here's something. So sympathetic magic is described as a type of magic where objects exert influence over each other through symbolic relationships. That's about the effect on the user more than the actual object itself. It's all about the mindset and the place that you're at, how grounded you are, what influence you are exerting. So these tools that you would use, more often than not, are about the relationship and its influence,
The confidence
and,
that it gives
and
you.
using this thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what I think I heard you say was when you're talking about objects, like having a cross or something as an example,
Yeah.
it's more about the feeling it gives you and
It's
making
about
you feel calm.
the mindset that it puts the user in. That would be a type of magic. You had a cross, you're waving it to try to exorcise the room. that's a magic, whether they want to admit it or not.
Mm-hmm.
That's a form of magic. That is sympathetic magic. It's just a way to get you to resonate the right way for an intended effect.
Mm-hmm. Mindset is really, really, really important. Like if a person is really freaked out and they grab a cross, but they don't truly, really believe that much in the Christian God, and they're waving it around and they don't in themselves feel that connection and that relationship with the God, and they don't feel calmer just having the cross and feeling like, okay, God's in my corner, we're good, and they're still in that really ungrounded, fearful state, then I would argue that a cross actually isn't going to do much.
Well, exactly. Well, it doesn't represent the same thing to them.
Right.
So
Right.
it doesn't have that relationship that I was talking about with sympathetic magic.
Sounds like this person, maybe their faith in that cross might be wavering, even though they're trying to use it and they're praying and hoping that God will give them strength somewhere in their mind.
They don't 100% believe it.
Think about the dude in The Mummy, where he had that necklace just full of different totems that he was just praying.
Right.
He didn't believe in a single one of them, so
Yeah.
it didn't do anything. It's
None
just
of
the
them
fact that he
worked.
spoke in the right language that did something. So that kind of sympathetic magic, that's an improper way to use it, because you don't feel anything for those symbols. It's not doing anything.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily probably the cross itself that's holy. It's that feeling inside and that connection to God that people feel when they see the cross. And they can remember, I am protected by my God. I have a connection, a good, strong connection with my God. My God has my back. I will be safe. And they bring that forward when they're interacting with the entity again. And it like banishes the entity and magically, right? God did that for them. I think arguably that's true. God did do that for them. But more so, it was their bringing the power of God into their heart and being able to sort of walk through their environment with that love and with that feeling of safety that diminishes the entity and diminishes the power the entity has over them. In shamanism, depending on which lineage you're looking at, there are different deities, there's different entities that they would work with. The on gods, it would be their ancestors that they've been building this relationship with over generations, and they personally have worked with for a number of years, and having faith that their on god is with them and will protect them from these other entities. If it's already too late and you've already got an attachment and we're beyond prevention at this point, then your relationship, and how do you call that relationship in? How do you remind yourself that you are not alone, that you have a community and you have good help, you have assistance, and that's through symbols, that's through calling, that is through mantras or prayers. So like the All Father is a good one for Christians. If you are a Buddhist, there are certain mantras that can be spoken for different lineages. It depends on what it is, but there's power words. I know that in the Nordic, there is this lady who works with the runes, and I can't remember her name right now, but she's like kind of a powerhouse when it comes to runes, and she's been working with them for decades. And she's been able to like figure out through her work ways of using the runes like verbally as like power words to call in certain thing, and they're like spells all in themselves. In my opinion, you don't want to rile anything up. It's not about being angry or being aggressive. I think it's really good to be cordial and professional and just be like, hey, I'm not into this. This isn't going to work for me. You need to back off. And I call in, the power of whatever I believe in. And I have my symbol here, and you're not welcome here. I am establishing a boundary. You cannot impact me this way. And it's about that calm, right? Because if you're angry and you're escalating, that's another way of feeding the entity. That anger is another live wire. That's another thing that you can do to send energy out into the world is shouting angrily. That's not calm. I know ghost hunters do it because they're trying to get the reaction from the spirit, and what they're doing.
The Japanese have a strange belief about when you see a paranormal event,
yeah,
you're supposed to swear and yell and, be negative towards it, and that it will actually like scare it away, is what some believe.
I didn't know that. I've seen ghost hunters do that because they're trying to get some kind of reaction out of the spirit. And I think what it does is it feeds the spirit enough to be able to do things. Spirits will mirror your energy. If you are afraid and frightened, the spirit will meet you at that level. If you're angry, they're going to meet you at that level of anger and send back equal aggression, depending on what the spirit is. I don't think it helps. I don't want to disparage Japanese culture if that's what they believe. I would be interested in learning more about that. But I don't think that that's helpful. So like just a normal everyday person, that's what you would do. You would be loving. You would be cordial. You would stand in a place of calm. You would get yourself nice and grounded. You would say your prayers or your power words. You would do a ceremony or ritual, and for the Christians or Catholics, that might be an exorcism, which I think is really excessive. That might be a prayer and anointing by a priest or other, godly figure, somebody who stands in a higher authority in your belief system. Now, the other thing I did want to talk about, a person who is really doing a lot of spiritual work, there is more that is needed for protection. So like shamans, Nicholas Breezewood, who I love. Also, his podcast is releasing new episodes. Yay! It's so exciting. I've been listening. He did a really good one on the Fae folk just a little bit ago, which was really interesting. He had really great sources from like the 14th century. His analogy is shamanism is a lot like walking along the beach. And you have shamans who are just barely sort of getting their feet wet. And then you have other shamans who are all the way in the deep end. Right? For most people, they're walking on the shore. They're not really getting in the water, like most average people. But when you're in the water, especially when you're in the deep end, you are a lot more susceptible to sharks and other jellyfish and other creatures that maybe don't mean you well and might take a bite out of you. So for a shaman, their protection has to be tenfold and has to be much more intentional. So like before a shaman can do work or remove entities or do any kind of ritual where they're going to be interacting potentially with something in the deep waters, they have to have a lot of stuff prepared. So the daily meditations and the daily mantras, depending on their lineage, multiple times a day, removing toxins from the body, having total control of their body about what goes into their body and what goes into their mind, things like gossip, being really careful and mindful about how they speak in the world and how they act in the world, because all of that contributes to their spiritual health and their barrier health. They have to follow instructions from the guides and really demonstrate a strong relationship with their guides and their spirits and their on-gods. Additionally, they have ritual armor that they wear. Ritual armor, it covers the face, it covers the head, it covers all of the neck and the hands. Every part of them is covered. And usually the armor is adorned with different symbols, which maybe have been empowered, maybe have been preyed on, but the armor itself is made ritualistically. Each piece of the armor, like some of them have snakes all over, some of them have different animals or people or bones or different things on there to call in different spirits and different energies. And the armor itself is prayed over and empowered, and there's different rituals to activate the armor. And they wear the armor so that the spirit doesn't see them. The spirit cannot recognize them and follow them home and cause mischief even with their families, because even a shaman's family is potentially at risk. Sometimes the spirits, if they know who the person is and they can't directly get to the person, they can't directly get to the shaman because the shaman is so well protected by their own gods, they will sometimes go and will mess with family members. And so this is like a protection, like the armor helps keep the spirit from knowing who the shaman actually is. I think that that's a really important thing that a lot of people, especially neo-shamans, don't really understand. They go in almost naked sometimes to these ceremonies doing these things, and there's not a lot of knowledge. I mean, it's getting there. People are, I think, intuitively starting to understand and begin to get it, but there is, depending on the lineage, there's a lot that goes into doing this kind of work where you're removing entities, because it is a very dangerous business. I myself have started making some armor, and I have pieces that I only ever wear when I feel like I need to be in a situation where I need to be protected. So when I go to work, there are certain things that I wear that I never ever wear anywhere else, that I only wear to work, because I don't want something from work that's bad to follow me home or to mess with me. Basically, I just want that extra protection. Not to say that I'm a shaman. I'm not in the deep end, but I got my feet in the water a little bit, and I just want to make sure that I'm taking
That's
extra
interesting.
precautions.
The clothing thing is really interesting. So what do you do? Do you come home and you just change immediately and throw it in the washing machine? Like, how do you make sure you don't
So
step deep too far into the house?
Well, part of it is before going to work, and I'm not always very good at this. There are certain things that I will do before actually stepping into the house, asking for protection, making sure I'm in a really grounded space, making sure that emotionally I'm okay. And if it's been a really rough day at work, sometimes the building where I work is fine and I don't feel anything. It's fine. And what's funny is there will be days where it feels real weird. The house feels weird and there's just sort of like a
Your house
heaviness
or
in it. The house where I work.
Okay.
It's an actual house that's been converted. So the house will feel really strange. And I've started to keep it to myself now because I'm waiting to see if I can get, what's it called?
Coworkers.
Correlations. Yeah. What's really funny is there was a day when it was not feeling good in the house. It was feeling really weird. I was walking along doing my thing, and then my coworker came up to me. She goes, "It feels really eerie today, doesn't it?" I'm like, "It does. It feels so weird in the house today." She goes, "Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I can feel it." I'm like, "I feel it too, man." Days like that, I say extra prayers. I make sure that when I come in that I feel clean, and then the first thing I do as soon as I come home is I take all of my protective stuff off. I could just consider it like a barrier that keeps things from sticking to me. I take it off as soon as I get in. I don't mess around. Even on days where I stay awake and I don't necessarily change out of my clothes, I take all of my stuff off and put it away. And there's a special place where it goes that I consider to be sacred and safe and all of that. So there's like a special ring that I wear. There's a special pair of earrings that I wear. There's a special necklace that I wear. And then there's some stones that I carry with me that have placement. And eventually I plan on making like a bracelet out of the stones.
That's the kind
Those
of stuff that I was definitely expecting you to come and talk about. Stones, essential oils, sage smudging. Where does that kind of stuff come into play?
It all comes down to belief.
It's more that sympathetic magic kind of stuff.
None of that shit will do a damn thing if you don't have a good relationship with whatever your spirits are. And I keep saying Christianity because I don't want to discount the power of Christianity in the hands of a person who really believes and is very faithful to their faith, because it is powerful. But it's not the only way. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think I want people to understand. I have a real problem with certain Christians, and we don't need to get into it.
It's the symbolism of the object and what it means to you and the power you manifest as a result of that belief.
Yes. So if you want to sage your house, but you don't actually believe in the power of sage and you're just doing it because you saw some hippies do it, I don't think that's going to help you.
Well, I believe that honestly, it's antibacterial.
It is. It is antimicrobial. For 30 days, it will keep down microbes in the home. If you sage a room, they did a study and they were like swabbing surfaces. It provided a level of protection against microbes for like 30 days or something. In this one study that I read, did I share it with you? How did you find that? How did you know that?
I don't know. That's just something I know. I'm in another state and it's slightly more granola than Arizona. And so essential oils and things like that are kind of a big deal here. Although I think nationally, essential oils really went through a movement for a time there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this place was special in that aspect. But there was a lady at a farmer's market just selling sage and little clam shells to catch your ashes as you go. And I was like, I'll take
That's
some.
Actually,
I was just lighting the kids' beds on fire with the embers. This is so smart.
You're not supposed to, those clamshells, where do they come from?
No, I don't know.
No, but where do the clams live that those came from?
Oh,
in general.
The ocean.
Right. Why would you put fire on a thing that is symbolic of what, like, it's considered in some circles actually really disrespectful to the show to use it for fire ceremonies like that. It's not meant to be used for fire. It depends though, because other people don't think that it's a problem at all. So, but I just thought I'd little food for thought for you.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't want to catch my shit on fire, right? So, I mean, it just seems really smart.
Could always use a plate. But anyway, so I think that it comes, and that's why I talked about that. That was the first thing I talked about, because it's the power of your belief. What do you believe in? What are your relationships? What are your spiritual relationships with? I don't think, I mean, yes, sage has antimicrobial
Properties.
Properties, yes, but spiritually, are you going to banish an entity that's driving you fucking crazy if you don't really believe in the power of the sage, if you don't have a relationship with the sage itself, it's just some random plant that you're burning because somebody told you that's what you should do? I don't think it's going to be as effective. Maybe it will be. Maybe you do believe it. Like instantly you're like, okay, I believe this. And you have full faith in that. And it helps you establish those good boundaries that I was talking about. But what's really doing it are the boundaries that you set. What are you doing with the sage? You are going around corner to corner, every part of the house, and you are saying, this is a space that you are not welcome. That is what you're doing with the sage. This is a space that is now consecrated. You must leave. With this smoke, I am telling you, you cannot stay here. And you open up the windows so the spirit leaves.
So I had convinced myself, well, maybe because I did a couple of sage burnings when we first moved in here, maybe that's why there's never anything weird going on around here. Maybe I banished all the little spirits, but you're saying no, it wouldn't have worked that way.
If that's what you were saying, is that the intention that you held when you were burning the sage?
No, I was just killing microbes.
Oh, well, yeah, no.
Because we moved into a new house and it probably wasn't clean enough. And everybody was sick all the time for the first couple of months that we lived here. And I was like, damn. And so I went around and burned sage and disinfected the house even harder.
But negative entities can affect your health.
Yeah, they can. Spirit systems is a known thing.
Well.
Just saying. Double dose of, getting rid of some microbes and getting rid of some ghosts.
Maybe it was all of the above.
Maybe if what you said was in your mind, I'm getting rid of the stuff that's making us sick.
Yeah.
Then there you go.
Yeah.
I'd like to come back a little bit and maybe simplify some things and talk about some older beliefs.
Okay.
I found this 5 effective items against supernatural. The first one being salt. Throwing salt over your left shoulder protects you from bad luck. This comes from the belief that the devil is always standing behind you, and throwing salt distracts him from interfering with your life. So salt has also traditionally been a protection against non-Christian religion in non-Christian religions, which postulate that its purity will repel and protect from ghosts and evil spirits.
So if you spill salt, you're supposed to stop and throw some salt over your left shoulder. That's literally the only place I've ever heard of that. Am I wrong?
Superstition, but...
That's a folk belief.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Salt is considered to be a way of purifying. So in witchcraft, doing salt circles, salting every doorway or window of your home, that's creating a barrier. In certain areas of shamanism, you would salt water and then use the salted water to clean certain areas, to create areas of protection and to remove spiritual residue from your home, spiritual pollution from the home. Salt is considered very important in that respect, just the same as sage, just as Palo Santo, just as there are other herbs, in fact, juniper, sweetgrass, there's a lot of different ones. But again, I think it is in part
the biggest
the
one is salt, like you're saying. And that also is because of the cleansing effect. They notice nothing really grows with that.
Yeah.
It's a white, pure crystal. So I think that does have a lot to do with it. And sage has some antibiotic effects too, doesn't it?
Where have you been?
Well,
we talked about that for 20 minutes.
All right. So JD, I think he had more.
JD,
yes,
what else?
I do.
What else you got?
There's silver. If you want to get rid of a werewolf, then you have to have a silver bullet.
See,
go ahead.
But in that,
the whole point of silver is the purity aspect, like salt. So
in different shamanism, silver is not the metal. You would use brass or
to
iron.
kill a werewolf?
Iron is another one.
Not
No,
werewolf,
kill a werewolf.
but for protection.
I mean, most of it's like we're protecting ourselves from the vampire or the werewolves. We're going to have silver.
Okay.
We're going to have a cross, vampire. But iron is another one. It's a superstition to hang horseshoes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
because of the iron. And it's supposed to ward off bad spirits or, whatever else.
And that's a protection against the fae.
Of course, we've talked about religious relics. Crucifix, and then in paganism, there's the pentagram as well. Holy water. And something that I found in a weird rabbit hole. Cora, someone asked the question, how do you protect oneself? And someone went very Christian and said that you need to cover yourself with the precious blood of Jesus. The bad spirits hate this. And so I had to research, well, how do you cover yourself in the blood of Jesus? Do you have to purify some blood and then cover yourself? No, it's actually just a prayer that you say to cover yourself.
Or the blood of the Virgin, either way.
That's the pagan way, or what?
Hey, in some circles, maybe. I don't know.
And then the last thing that I found interesting in this list, number 5, is the machete. Having a machete is kind of more of a physical
the timing
protection.
of adding the machete to my comment.
Right?
Furba is an Asian, and I want to say maybe Mongolian, ritual knife. And then I have worked with other ritual knives that were made out of like elk jaw or obsidian blades. And those are very powerful, but it's the symbolism, in my opinion. It is the symbolic act of cutting a cord, cutting a tie, or cutting through the negativity that removes it. Again, for me, it's about the mentality of setting a boundary. I am removing this cord from me. It's believed that some entities will attach, almost like a leech, hooking in like a little sucker that is just constantly attached to you all the time, and that they're constantly sucking energy out of you all the time. And you cut the cord with these ritual objects, and they can help defend against negative entities.
I found some commonalities in my research with these protections. And one is, you've talked about it, setting boundaries, whether they're physical using salt, whether they're symbolic, and there's multiple ways of doing that. There's the meditation, the prayer, the blood of Jesus is the prayer you use that sets the boundary, or visualizing boundaries, visualizing golden light around you that's a barrier. And then the second thing that you've talked about over and over again is your belief system. And I think that's the most important when it comes to protection. What do you believe is going to protect you? Sometimes in the beginning, you may not really believe in it, but doing it, using it, can create that belief in it. Because I thought rocks were rocks once upon a time, until I decided to just try this and take the belief from somebody else and say, okay, they believe in this, well, I'll try it and I'll see. And I set up selenite pieces around my house inside to create barriers. And then I believe it so much now that I have a big piece of selenite out in front of my house to capture the negative energy that comes with people as they come into your home. It's a protection for my home. And then I have other crystals around as well, and there's a sacred space with crystals on it. You pretty much talked about everything that I've researched. So like mental health, fear or anxiety is related to paranormal activity. It's all these things. So it's just interesting that as I've been researching, this is all stuff you already know. This is all stuff you already deal with on a regular basis. And
I've spent years learning about this stuff. And I will say, it starts with you. It starts with the individual. It starts with what is your situation, and in what ways are you unbalanced and ungrounded, and in what ways are your boundaries really porous and feeding the things around you, right? I'm not trying to victim blame either. Because just because you live in a situation of chaos, maybe because of the trauma that you've gone through, maybe because of your family life, maybe because of who knows, like here. But there's 101 reasons why a person can end up with shit happening around them that they can't necessarily control, that can end up leading to entity attachments and something messing with them, right? Sometimes shit just happens even still. And if it's a particularly strong entity, I think that's why it's important. You have to be grounded. You have to find that peace in yourself. You have to fill in your boundaries, but you may still also need help from someone who has been studying this and learning about this and has certain empowerments. So a priest has certain priestly empowerments that you don't have if you're a Christian. Just because you pray and you've got your cross and you are doing all of the right things doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be able to get rid of it, but that's where it starts. You have to start with it. And then if it's still bothering you, then you seek, you escalate and you seek the community, you seek prayer in church, you seek assistance from the person with the empowerments. It's the same in shamanic belief, is that it starts with you. And the priest and the shaman is not going to be able to do much if you yourself, ground zero, are still remaining very porous, or still remaining in a very chaotic state. Like they may be able to get rid of it for you. They may be able to help you get rid of it, but it can come back if you are not doing the self-work.
JT, are you saying that you feel like there really is something to the power of this stone, this rock? And Mandy, you're saying, I don't know that I believe that, but I believe you believe in it, and that's what's giving it its power.
That's hard because I also do believe that the stones
okay. Talk about that more.
So the stones have their own power. They are their own entities. I'm an animist. I believe that each rock, each little pebble, each little stone has its own innate spirit. And I believe that JT has created a solid relationship with the spirits of these stones, and that in return, the spirit of the stone helps protect him. So again, it's about the higher power. For me, it's about the higher power and the relationship. It always comes back to the relationship with the spirits, whether that's your God or if it's your rock.
Well, I'll just tell the story of the piece of selenite that I have. I was in Sedona, and I was at a rock shop, and I bought 2 stones that day. I have a amethyst that I bought that was really cool looking, that was kind of sitting in a breezeway just out in the elements, and it needed a home. And I just kind of questioned about it and was able to pick it up for actually a really decent price. But then I thought, okay, we've kind of been messing with this selenite a little bit, and there was these bigger pieces of selenite, and I saw this one, and it said to me, "Take me home."
Aww.
And so I took it home, and it was very specific about where it wanted to be, and it wanted to be outside my front door, so that it can protect the house. So and this all happened, and I didn't realize that that's what was happening at the time it happened.
Did you already know that they allegedly have these powers?
Yes, I knew that about selenite. I knew what selenite was for, but this specific rock, it ended up outside of my house in front of it, and it's set up in a way that it wanted to be set up. I just didn't know that until after I had it set it up, and I was looking at it one day. I was like, oh, that's how you wanted to be. That's where you wanted to be. I thought that was just what I wanted, but no, it was actually what the rock wanted, telling me where to put it. Again, it goes back to, what do you believe? But if somebody like the first story that we talked about, this person that's struggling, they tried a bunch of things, but they didn't work. But did they try it long enough?
Mm-hmm.
Did they really believe in it? Or do they really want to have this substance abuse problem still? Where are they at?
Yeah, sometimes it's not a quick fix. It's the power of patterns and repetition, power of practice.
And with that, Cameron, I'd like to hear more from you about some of this subject, because you've been kind of quiet.
Yeah. There was a story you told where you hid underneath a blanket that you had done some protection spells on, and it made you safe. And I thought, I want to know more about that.
I gave it to someone else that was seeing some shit, because they were the sacrificial lamb that night.
Meg? Do you remember? It was Meg who told that story.
Yeah, you said that. You said you threw the blanket over her to help protect her. You used your girlfriend
as the sacrificial lamb?
She wanted to see things.
So she consented? She knew?
Yeah, she didn't believe it. So I took her to a place where I was like, all right, this place is pretty creepy. Let's go. And, then she saw something and she got real freaked out. We kept seeing owls wherever we went. Like, they're pretty rare out here. Like, you'll see them, but not everywhere you go. So finally we went back to my place and we heard some commotion out in the front, which is weird because nothing was there. And then an owl. And I said, okay, well, here, put this over you. Take my amulet. But what I did is I actually blessed that with salt, sage, and I believe it was patchouli. I don't know what the significance of patchouli is. I just like the smell. And for me, it was just the practice of, it was more so a meditation. I don't believe in any of those substances. I just think I meditated and concentrated over it. Basically, I prayed over it.
It's congruent.
And so that's the power I had with that blanket. And so I gave it to her, and things quieted down outside. We didn't see an owl for the rest of the night, and then I dropped her off at home.
What would be the significance of the owl? I'm just curious.
For me, I've always taken it as it's a guardian of the barrier. It's there at the precipice of life and death, or this alternate dimension. I think I've referred to it as like a guardian of the veil, but I don't know if that's really the right terminology. So every time something is coming, it's sort of there watching.
So to see an owl means you might see something worse.
Yeah, it could be a bad omen, but I think it in of itself is just a sign that there's a disturbance nearby.
I think I see owls more often than not, but I also believe I'm just kind of attuned to their presence when they're around.
I was going to say, I thought I remember owls being a pretty regular thing when I lived in Arizona.
They're all over.
But to see one,
I don't really see them everywhere we go.
Okay.
Yeah, because we went to 4 different places that night, and they were at each location.
That's a lot in one night, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does seem like a lot.
Dang. Cameron, what have you been doing?
Nothing. Don't worry about it.
You got Pandora's box in your pocket? Like, what's going on?
Don't worry about it,
It's funny you mentioned about that. I had a Jack-in-the-Box. If you would like me to find it, you can have that.
I'll pass. Thanks.
There's no way I'm going to let it.
Yeah, you want to go ghost hunting sometime?
Yeah, I do.
I want to. I mean, I think it'd be fun. I mean, but I want to go to the place you don't want to go to.
The one in the middle of the desert?
Yeah, in Fountain Hills.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm nervous about is fucking mountain lions, man. That's all I care about. There's a lot of mountain lions in Fountain Hills. Every goddamn place I turn around, somebody's got a picture of a mountain lion hanging out by their pool. Or someone's pet went missing.
That's why I want to go. I want to see a mountain lion, too.
I'm very nervous. Oh, my God. They're big cats. Yeah. Anyway.
So I did look up one thing that caught my attention. Did you guys hear or see the headline? Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson wearing the cowrie shell bib necklace to the inauguration.
Oh, no?
I did not.
Was that person trying to protect themselves?
Okay, so Mandy knows. So, I mean, everybody caught on. Everybody was like, whoa. So, some people thought maybe it was an ode to Ruth Bader Ginsburg and all the interesting collars that she wore and adorned that had symbolism to them. She had specific ones she wore at certain times. And then other people caught on to the symbolism of cowrie shells as a protection against evil spirits in African culture. And then just even the political statement that it makes, because they were also used. Could go down here.
I hope it's a statement of I support or I'm in line with indigenous peoples too. That's an indigenous belief from, what you said, Africa? I actually don't know much about that particular belief.
Historians speculate that cowrie shells were viewed as a talisman to resist enslavement. Africans used them as charms for protection. This is where their strength lies, and here also lies the messaging represented by Justice Jackson wearing them, especially as a descendant of slaves. Yeah.
That's a pretty powerful thing.
I thought that was really moving. I did not know that about cowrie shells either. They're a very touristy thing. Anytime you go anywhere where there's beach or ocean, you're going to get jewelry that is made of them in those little tourist traps. And so I think it's really cool to learn that there's a little bit more of a deeper history culturally.
That is really cool. I think one thing that I wanted to touch on is people who believe in minerals, and I'm one of them, who believe in the power of the mineral and the spirit of the mineral. The mineral requires periodic cleansing and renewal. And that's true of different talismans and different belief systems. I actually don't remember anything about that with regard to the crucifix, but rocks need to be cleansed. And some rocks aren't compatible with water. So you have to find other ways to cleanse them. On the full moon, you lay them out so they can charge and cleanse under the light of the moon. Or in some cultures, like in Arizona, like I think the sun is actually quite powerful. The sun can cleanse different stones and things. In different shamanic traditions, empowered objects or ritual protective devices need to be re-empowered from time to time because they can lose their mojo, they can lose their juice. And the objects themselves, the way they become empowered the first time is you invite a guardian spirit or on God or something to empower it. So a piece of their power is in that object. And that's how it works. Is without the empowerment, it's not anything, it's just an object. So it's about, again, like the relationship, about having that give and take of respecting the spirit and doing what it needs to keep itself powerful in order to receive the benefit from it as well, like that give and take. For anybody out there who is having a difficult time and does feel like something is attacking them, my heart goes out to you. We are going to do a little mini episode, and I think we're probably going to end this one soon. And I will run through a kind of meditation that I do, which is meant to help with centering and grounding. And it's intended, there's a lot of different steps to it, and it does a lot of different things. So for me, it's very grounding. For me, it helps to empower and energize myself, and it helps me to fuel my energy barrier. And then there's energy barrier maintenance that goes on. And maybe that's something we need to talk about too, is the energy barrier. Do you feel like, Abbey, that's something that you understand, like the concept of?
No. And actually, I borrowed a book from a friend that's about earthing.
Oh, earthing is awesome. So cool.
I figured that you probably have some knowledge of that because I know that you do a lot of energy stuff.
I think earthing might be its own episode, but earthing is supposed to be really neat. And there's a guy who figured out how to earth while you sleep. So he actually will take like copper cables and put it in his bed. And then the cables will go out to the nearest place of earth, wherever there's ground. And then he takes copper stakes and sticks them into the ground. And so you sleep literally connected to the earth the whole time while you're sleeping. I haven't done a lot of research on it, but anecdotally, there's a lot of comments from people who feel like it's really helped them with their sleep. It's helped them to feel healthier. It's helped them to overcome a lot of different emotional problems that they were having, and they feel strong benefit from the earthing. And it's such a benign, easy thing to do. You're not hurting anybody by doing it. It doesn't cost a lot. It's a really interesting concept, and I think it's really neat. And what I like about it is how I believe it, because when I am at my worst, most anxious feeling, sometimes all I need to do is just take my shoes off and go stand in some grass, and I feel a hell of a lot better. And that's grounding. That's literally you are grounding yourself into the earth.
Yeah. So back to your question, though, about energy boundary. I mean, I don't know if the two are related, but my brain just went on that little segue.
I think so.
I don't know that I know anything about energy boundaries. I mean, are we just talking about mood, vibe, energy, or why continue on? Why'd you ask the question?
So like energy, your mood, your vibe, right? So we talked about how when I'm angry, I don't have to even say anything. If I walk into a room really pissed off, somebody else sometimes can just feel it. Like a really empathic person who's in tune is going to know without you saying a single word that you're pissed. And they're going to start reacting to that energy. So it's strong emotions and just your vibrancy, like your life force is this energy that's all around you. It's like an aura. It's the aura.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah. I guess I've never called it energy boundary, but that all makes sense to me.
The boundary part's a little different. So some people walk around through life and they're just open and they're just accepting other people's energy all the time. And it's sort of shaking them up and impacting them. And they're like a poor little What's that game that you play where like you hit the ball with the paddles and then it's like a ping pong, right?
Pinball.
No, pinball.
Pinball.
They're like a little pinball in a pinball machine, and they're just buffeted by this energy all the time. People who are really empathic deal with this all the time. And the other thing that happens is as they're going through life, if they're feeling really good, they're making other people feel really good because they're in such a good mood and they lift other people up, and it can be very draining because literally they don't have any kind of energy boundary. They don't have any kind of barrier that buffets them from the stuff from the outside coming in or protects them from losing energy by all of the stuff that they're sending out all of the time. And that's part of what my exercise does too. And I can't claim complete credit for making this thing up. I took it from Christina Pratt.
Christina Pratt. Thanks, Christina Pratt.
She's awesome. Thank you, Christina Pratt. You're amazing. She has a shamanism podcast, and she has the grounding energy boundary exercise that she does, and it's for this reason. And if you live in like a really crowded city, it's even worse. You're just constantly battered on by the energies of other people. Well, you can create for yourself, and some people just already have this just normally, naturally. You can create for yourself a good, strong energy boundary where you are still sort of feeling other people. You can understand that they're angry and you can sympathize with their anger, but you don't take it in. Oh my God, they're angry. Now I have to react to this somehow.
I'm going to turn on the technology side of things for me, because this is how I created a boundary way a long time ago, not really realizing I was creating a boundary. When it comes to computers, what is the signal that's inside a computer? It's energy. It's electricity. That's how the data is transmitted. It's a similar transmission. So in your house, when you have your internet come in, what do you have? You have a router with a firewall. And that is something that you can use to set up and control what comes in and what goes out. So a long time ago for myself, I created a firewall. The energy that's coming at me, I can block that energy and say, I don't want that. That's not going to come in. That's not going to affect me. But it also, I can control what goes out of that as well. I can just let it free flow out, and I can let it free flow in, or I can block it. And it can be person specific, like it can be in a computer specific things you want to let in and let out. It's kind of a firewall. And it can be metaphorical. It can be visual, in your mind type of thing. Like, okay, my firewall is a golden energy circle around me. Something else too that we've talked about is something that we didn't get into much. We more talked about how do we protect ourselves from spirits per se. There are rituals or even invitations you can create to have spirits protect you as well. But I've only done this recently, and I've been very, very careful, and I've only done it under direction of a certain person on this podcast. Because I've learned from that person that you have to be very careful about the spirits that you invite. You have to know where they come from. You have to know what they're about. And you need to be very intentional about it. I found a whole guide on Medium about invoking spirits. And it gives you a whole step-by-step process, but it gives a little warning, but it doesn't, I don't think, unless you really understand what spirits are out there, you could invite something that may look good, but not be good.
Yeah, you guys have talked about that before too, about how sometimes a ghost can try to trick you into welcoming it. Mm-hmm. Or spirit, or sorry, I use the word ghost. I don't know.
Ghosts do it too.
Spirit.
Yeah. Have we answered as many questions as we can about this? I think I said everything I needed to say.
I feel like you did. I feel like the broad concept of grounding yourself, finding your community, finding your faith in whatever that is, maybe not even such a strict use of the word faith, but turning to whatever it is that gives you strength. I think that you guys kind of went over it. I think you went over it.
And it wasn't like a step-by-step guide, I feel like, but I think that those are all of the things. Like, you have to calm the fuck down first. That's the first thing you do. Calm the fuck down in whatever way that you need to, whatever that means for you. Calm down.
It really helps because, in past episodes where you guys have talked about protections and stuff, I did think it was a little bit more ritualistic. But really, it's a little bit more of like a personal, just finding things that give you your inner strength.
The ritual can help you get into the right mindset.
Yeah. I geared this episode toward the everyday average person who isn't a practicing something. When you're a practicing something, yes, there is a lot of ritual involved that is actually really important. And it depends on what your practice is. I mean, even in Catholicism and Christianity, priests have a lot of rituals that they have to do before they can even attempt an exorcism or before they go to your home and do a blessing. There is a lot of ritual. That's the practitioner level, and that's different.
Yeah, I think everyday people who might be listening, who might think, oh, well, I might have a ghost, or there might have been a shadow person here. So you don't think that for them in those situations that these sorts of things apply, that it's really a matter of having those boundaries and making sure that whatever it is that might be there just doesn't get stronger.
Yeah, I don't think a person needs to do a full-blown shamanic or Wiccan ritual to protect themselves in the instance of that.
Yeah.
In the instance of our first example of this poor person who feels like they're being assaulted nightly, yeah, I think they probably do need a ritual, but they're not the one who's going to do it. They need to find whomever their spiritual leader is who can help them, who knows the ways to do the ritual, who has the relationships with the spirits who have to be present in that ritual, who are going to actually be the ones doing the work. Because it's not the spiritual leader, it's the spirit that the leader has a relationship with who's doing that. So yeah, I would never say, oh my God, you've got a ghost, you better set up, a pentagram and then, do this particular ceremony or whatever. Like, that's not for the average person to have to do.
Maybe not, but like I said, the stones and essential oils and sage things, I think those feel like more approachable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they can be very grounding, because they are protective. And yes, essential oils, I think, are very important. I have lots of them, and I use them at work for patients to help them to calm, to help them to ground, to help them release. Essential oils are very important, and they have a lot of meaning for me. But if that's not your jam, you don't need it. What do you believe in? What does give you comfort?
Mm-hmm.
Those are the things that you need. And then set a boundary. That's pretty much it. That's it. That's all of it. Get yourself calm, whatever way that is for you, and then call on your higher power, or call on your inner strength or your higher power, whatever it is, and set that boundary. And that should be enough. If it's not enough, which sometimes it's not, it's rare, but occasionally it's not, then seek out your community and then seek out your spiritual leader and whatever your practice is, and ask for help from the larger community. And then they can help you.
All right. Okay. Well, everybody, murderers.
All right, murders. I hope you liked this episode, murders. This was a different one for us, I feel like. It's a really different one. All right, murders. I hope you liked this one.
Any of your own protections or comments you want to do, you can email us.
Oh, yeah.
wanderingcrowpodcast@gmail.com. You can... comment on our Facebook page.
Facebook group. It's in the comments. We have an Instagram and a Threads and we sort of had a Red Note, but not really. We are on Red Note. We're not super active on it.
Don't forget, sometimes the best protection is an easier target.
There you go.
There's Cameron with his zinger. He always has the best zingers. There's his sting.
Oh, that was
a really good one. Cameron, that's why you're here. Keep it up. Do you have any real advice, Cameron, other than the easier target? I mean, I know for you that probably is real advice, but do you have alternate advice?
You know me so well, actually. I mean, I don't lose my cool, so there's always an easier target. I just bring people with me.
So I got from that, don't lose your cool.
Oh, yeah, just stay grounded. No matter what happens. It's just another day.
Okay.
It's kind of like what you were saying.
I love you, brother. You're hilarious. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. All right, murderers. This has been another episode of
The Wandering
Crow. All right. Okay, friends.